The first time I truly hated my roommate was the morning I found my late father's old coffee mug shattered across the kitchen floor. It had survived 10 years, 3 moves, and every hardship life had thrown at me, only to be broken on an ordinary Tuesday because someone I barely knew had been too careless to notice it sitting near the edge of the counter. From that day forward, every breath inside our tiny apartment in Burlington, Vermont, felt like a silent battle. I counted the days until our lease would end, convinced that some people simply entered your life to make it worse. Before we continue, if you believe that kindness, hope, forgiveness, compassion, and second chances can change someone's life, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps these heartfelt stories reach more people around the world. My name is Nathan, and after losing my father, I had accepted a job at a small engineering company in the United States. Money was tight, so sharing an apartment was my only option. That was how I ended up living with Caleb, a quiet graduate student who always seemed to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. He forgot to replace empty milk cartons, stayed up late studying with his desk lamp glowing beneath my bedroom door, and somehow managed to leave socks in every room except his own. Every tiny annoyance became another brick in the wall I built between us. Even when he apologized, I assumed he only wanted to avoid conflict rather than genuinely care. We lived under the same roof but carried ourselves like strangers forced together by bad luck. Winter arrived harder than anyone expected. Snow buried the sidewalks, icy winds rattled every window, and temperatures dropped lower each night. One Friday evening, a blizzard knocked out power across several neighborhoods before electricity finally returned hours later. We both believed the worst had passed until the apartment heater refused to come back to life. Maintenance couldn't reach us until morning because the roads were completely blocked. Within an hour, our apartment felt like a refrigerator. We wore every sweater and blanket we owned, but nothing stopped the cold from creeping into our bones. There was only one bedroom with enough insulation to hold any warmth at all, and even then, the room felt freezing. We looked at the single bed, then at the couch covered with frost near the window, realizing there were no comfortable choices left. Pride argued with common sense until survival finally won. We agreed to share the bed for one night, placing pillows between us like an invisible border neither intended to cross. Sleep refused to come. Outside, the wind screamed against the building while the snow piled higher. Hours passed in uncomfortable silence until I noticed Caleb quietly shivering. At first I ignored it, still holding on to weeks of resentment. Then I remembered the countless nights my father had wrapped an extra blanket around me whenever the furnace struggled during my childhood. Without saying much, I handed Caleb the thicker comforter while keeping the thinner one for myself. He protested only briefly before accepting it with genuine gratitude that caught me off guard. As the night grew colder, conversation slowly replaced silence. For the first time, I learned that Caleb had lost his mother to cancer only a year earlier. He wasn't careless because he didn't respect other people. He was exhausted from juggling graduate school, 2 part-time jobs, and caring for his younger sister back home in Ohio. The coffee mug had haunted him for weeks because he knew it mattered to me, but every apology felt too small for something that couldn't be replaced. He admitted he had searched antique stores trying to find one like it, never realizing the memories attached to it were impossible to buy. Listening to him felt like watching the walls around my heart quietly crumble. I had judged an entire person through the lens of my own pain without ever asking about his. By sunrise, neither of us had slept much, yet somehow the room felt warmer than it had all night. Maybe the heater was still broken, but understanding had replaced resentment. The repair technician finally restored the furnace that afternoon, but something far more important had already been repaired. Over the following months, we became unlikely friends. Caleb helped me rebuild an old bookshelf my father had started years before, while I spent weekends tutoring him before difficult exams. When my company downsized and I feared losing everything again, he quietly covered my share of the rent until I found another position. He never mentioned it afterward because, to him, friendship wasn't measured by keeping score. If this story has touched your heart so far, please consider supporting the channel by liking the video, sharing it with friends or family, and subscribing for more uplifting stories that remind us how unexpected moments can change our lives forever. Before this story ends, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever misunderstood someone who later became an important part of your life? Please leave your answer in the comments because your story might encourage someone else who is struggling to look beyond first impressions. Years later, I still keep a cracked ceramic mug on my kitchen shelf. It isn't my father's original mug, and it isn't valuable to anyone else. Caleb found it at a local thrift shop after months of searching because it carried the same colors and reminded him that broken things can still hold beautiful memories. Every winter, whenever cold winds shake my windows, I remember that freezing night when a broken heater forced two stubborn strangers into the same room, the same bed, and eventually the same journey toward forgiveness. Sometimes life doesn't warm our hearts by changing the weather. Sometimes it simply places the right person beside us long enough for us to finally see who they really are.